Welcome students for the chapter number 7 project cost management. We already started our discussion, so I'm going to continue with it. Before we proceed for the new topics, a little recap that what is cost. Cost is a resource sacrificed or foregone to achieve a specific objective or something which is given up in exchange. Costs are usually measured in monetary units like dollars that must be paid to acquire goods and services. So, what is the cost management process? It's actually a combination of 4 processes. Project cost management includes the processes required to ensure that the project is completed within an approved budget. Number one process is planning cost management, which means determining the policies, procedures, and documentation that will be used for planning, executing, and controlling the project cost. Second is estimating costs, which means developing an approximation or estimate of the cost of the resources needed to complete a project. Third process is to determining the budget, which means allocating the overall cost estimate to individual work items to establish a baseline for measuring the performance. Last process is controlling cost, which means controlling changes to the project budget. Now, this slide shows the 4 processes with the required inputs, tools, techniques, and the outputs. In our previous discussions, we have done the discussion, we have finished with the planning cost management and the estimated costs. Today, our discussion is started from determining the budget part. So, determining the budget means that cost budgeting involves allocating the project cost estimate to individual work items over time. It includes the material resources or work items are based on the activities in the work breakdown structure for the project. As we know that the work breakdown structure has the definition of all the work items, so it is required over here. So the important goal is to produce a cost baseline. It is a time-phased budget that project managers use to measure and monitor the cost performance. So these are the required inputs for determining the budget phase. We have 7 activity cost estimates, basis of estimates, scope baseline, project schedule, resource calendars, contracts, organizational process assets. These are the 5 tools and techniques which we need to apply on the inputs and get the required outputs. So cost aggregation, reserve analysis, expert judgment, historical relationships, funding limit reconciliation, and the required output for this phase is the cost performance baseline, project funding requirements, project document updates. This is the diagram from your book, figure 7.54. It provides an example of a cost baseline for this project. So as we know, a cost baseline is a time-phased budget that project managers use to measure and monitor the cost performance of the project. So it includes the contingency reserves. If you see here in the end, it includes here only the reserves are shown. So, but we know that there are 2 types of reserves. So it does include the contingency reserves, but does not include the management reserves, right? So if you recall that the contingency reserves are for known unknowns, while management reserves are for unknowns. So we are just including here the contingency reserves. This is the diagram also from your book, and this shows actually the project budget components, right? So you can see here the 2 axes shows the y-axis shows the total amount, and the x-axis shows the project budget component. So this is the from your book figure 7.5. It shows the various components of your project budget. The project budget, as you see here, is composed of the cost baseline and the management reserves. Further, you see the control accounts are comprises of work package, cost estimate plus contingency reserves. As I tell you, the management reserves we are not adding here. So only here the contingency reserves are shown. Then further you can see the work package cost estimates are based on activity cost estimates plus activity contingency reserves. So this diagram is actually showing the various components of our project budget. So I'm